guys like our president of the United States and
Chairman,
Congress.
copies of those letters being distributed.
So just
We're
listen to
making
it.
copies now. Yeah, the committee just received these pretty recent. So yeah, copies will be made available to every member of the committee. So
While we finish this mission,
Mr. Ryan.
I just want to listen to you. I just want y'all to listen to what's going on behind scenes, what's going on behind
The
closed doors.
apology that ought to be given is to the American taxpayer, not to a government that's abusing its power. I am sitting here listening to this testimony. I don't believe it. That's your problem. Nobody believes it. The Internal Revenue Service comes to Congress a couple years ago and misleads us and says no targeting is occurring. Then it said it was a few rogue agents in Cincinnati. Then it said it was also on progressives. All of those things have been proven untrue. This committee sent a criminal referral of possible criminal wrongdoing just a month ago to the Justice Department. We've heard nothing. You bury in a 27-page letter to the Senate asking for them to conclude the investigation that you've lost Lois Lerner's emails during the time in question because of a hard drive crash. Monday, our investigators asked your agency whether any other hard drives crashed, and we learned that 6 other hard drives of the people we're investigating were involved. You didn't tell us that.
We told you on Monday.
On Monday.
And what did you do with the
Because we asked you.
Right, and what did you do with that information?
You told us on Monday because we asked you whether any other hard drives crashed. This is unbelievable. You told us on May you were going to give us all of Lois Lerner's emails, and you learned in February that this crashed.
I did not learn in February was a crash, and we on Monday.
I'm not asking you a question. I'm just making a statement.
My apologies.
You are the Internal Revenue Service. You can reach into the lives of hardworking taxpayers, and with a phone call, an email, or a letter, you can turn their lives upside down. You ask taxpayers to hang on to 7 years of their personal tax information in case they're ever audited, and you can't keep 6 months worth of employee
Wow.
emails.
Wow.
And now that we are seeing this investigation, you don't have the emails. Hard drives crashed. You learned about this months ago. You just told us, and we had to ask you on Monday. This is not being forthcoming. This is being misleading again. This is a pattern of abuse, a pattern of behavior that is not giving us any confidence that this agency is being impartial. I don't believe you. This is incredible.
I have a long career. That's the first time anybody has said that you do not believe me.
I don't believe you.
That's fine. We can have a disagreement. I'm willing to stand on our record. I'm willing to remind you that it was not buried in 27 pages. Most of that 27 pages is exhibits. When asked about the custodians, we advised you what
Being forthcoming,
which we knew for one day.
being forthcoming is to say,
I'm sorry.
you know what, investigators, Congress who's investigating this
Will you let him answer the question?
I didn't ask him a question.
Yes, you
Nah,
did.
you didn't ask him a question.
Gentlemen,
Oh, yo, oh.
I control the
gentlemen
time.
from Wisconsin.
I control the time.
I realize that disrupting a hearing, sort of
No, come on.
No.
people, but the gentleman from Wisconsin.
I am not yielding time. I control the time.
He has the time.
Here's what being forthcoming is.
Give a word.
If we are investigating criminal wrongdoing, targeting of people based on their political beliefs, and the emails in question are lost because of a hard drive crash that is apparently unrecoverable, which a lot of IT professionals would question, and you don't tell us about it until we ask you about it, that is not being forthcoming.
And that's
true. I yield back to that time.
That's not true.
Our gentleman yields back. Our gentleman has yielded back.
Good. All right, thank you.
Mr. Neal is recognized.
Well, I'm actually going to let you answer Mr. Ryan's question. Go ahead.
Mr. Ryan tried to leave the impression that only by being asked did we reveal the information about the hard drive crash. First of all, I will reiterate, the information about the hard drive crash is in the emails that you and your staff have had for some time. Secondly, we released that public report telling you about the email loss on our own. It was not in response to a question. Third, we learned on Monday morning about the custodians. We were asked, our staff was asked on Monday afternoon. We told them all we knew, which was there was an indication there had been a hard drive problem with 6 others. The next morning, this committee put out a release asserting, leaping to the conclusion that therefore emails have been lost, particularly Nicole Flax's email. It turns out as we continue to work, and we have more work to do, that there's no evidence that any Nicole Flax email was lost. We are responding. What we are trying to do, as the Treasury letter suggested, is as soon as we are able to give you a full picture of it, we are providing that. It's not in response to a question. That was a public report we provided you. We will continue to provide you documents. You have 770,000 pages. You will have 67,000 Lois Lerner emails. 24,000 of Lois Lerner emails in the period when it crashed have not been lost. They will be produced to you.
Mr. Neal, on this point, may I ask you a question? May I ask a question here in your time, and I'll give you some more time. There is a distinction, yes, the committee did know about the hard drive, but we did not know about the server. There is a distinction. We did not know about the server. And the server, came in the carbon copy of the letter you sent to the Senate. The server means they're lost forever. A hard drive crash doesn't necessarily mean that the emails are lost forever. So there is a significant distinction here that has not been made yet today. So, Mr. Neal, you have, and make sure you have more time.
Would you like to respond?
You may, yes, and
That's an important question, and one of the reasons that we did not immediately say we discovered a hard drive crash, because as you just noted, a hard drive crash does not mean that emails have been lost forever. And in fact, in the case of Lois Lerner, 24,000 of her emails were not lost. They have actually been found. They will be produced. You have 5,000 of them already. You'll have 24,000 of them by the end of the month. So when a hard drive crashes, the emails do not necessarily disappear. Her email account, any emails in those accounts, which were the emails we could find in that period, were included and did not crash.
Thank you. Commissioner.
That's lies, golf, and bullshit too.
Mr. Brady is recognized.
When were you told about the problems with the Lerner emails? First February?
Pardon?
When were you
told that they had discovered that there was an issue with her email?
In February?
In February.
Why did you choose to withhold that information from this congressional investigation?
I had no intention of withholding that information. As I've stated, our plan was to investigate and find out what the details were. At that point, we did not know whether there had been a crash that had affected your emails or not.
Rick, you just testified that you gave your agency 3 weeks to determine if it would be retrievable or not. They weren't successful. So, give me the benefit of the doubt. In March, you knew these emails were not available. Why didn't you inform this congressional investigation then?
My goal was to, in fact, determine all of the facts so we could give you a full report. As I noted earlier this week,
you informed the Treasury.
To answer the question.
Could the witness answer the question?
You know, regular order, Mr. Levin, the gentleman from Texas has the time, and he is questioning appropriately. So please, no more interruptions.
Regular order allows the witness to answer a question.
Regular order allows the witness to conduct his questioning as he sees fit. This committee has given broad latitude to members of both parties to do that.
Mr. Chairman,
Report to Mr. Brady.
Chairman,
Brady will continue.
Parliamentary inquiry, Mr. Chairman.
The gentleman will state his parliamentary inquiry.
Under the rules of the House, every member has 5 minutes to pose questions to the witness, and the witness is given an opportunity and a right to respond. Is the chairman saying that the witness does not have a right to respond to the question?
The gentleman has had plenty of time to respond. That is not a parliamentary inquiry. Mr. Brady has
Mr.
time.
Chairman, my question is, does the witness have a right to respond to the question?
Gentleman has not stated a parliamentary inquiry. The gentleman from Texas.
You knew in March.
Start again with the question.
Yet you withheld the information from this congressional investigation. And in May, you assured this committee that all of Ms. Lerner's emails would be provided to us, yet you knew that that was not possible.
No, in fact, I knew that, in fact, we would provide you all the Lois Lerner emails that we had.
You already knew in March they were not retrievable. A, you didn't inform the congressional investigation. B, 2 months later you told us you would provide all the emails without limitations. And you knew you didn't have them.
By March, I did not know that they were not retrievable, and in fact, we have retrieved 24,000 of those emails.
That was the case. You knew. And in April, your agency informed Treasury about the problem, and Treasury agreed with you that Congress should be told as soon as it was able to. Yet you didn't provide the information And then you assured us you would provide all the emails without limitation, with no mention that you then knew 2-3 months into this that they weren't retrieved.
As noted, and I think the record should make it clear, all of this issue is a result of our providing you a public and fulsome document about this matter. So we have not...
But I want to specifically address the family members that are here. There is no theory of the prosecution. There is no prosecution. There's a very big difference between a prosecution where you already have reached a conclusion and you're just trying to prove it to people. This is an investigation, which is why it's so sad that nowhere in that stack that you just put up there, where the emails of Secretary Clinton, the emails of the ambassador, 50,000 pages worth of documents, eyewitnesses, that's the real tragedy. To the family and the friends, when you're told that there have been 7 previous investigations in an ARB, you should immediately ask, why did you miss so many witnesses? Why did you miss so many documents? This is not a prosecution, Mr. Schiff. You and I are both familiar with them. I've reached no conclusions, and I would advise you to not reach any conclusions either until we reach the end. There are 20 more witnesses. So I'll agree not to reach any conclusions if you'll do the same. With that, Madam Secretary, regardless of where he ranked in the order of advisors, it is undisputed that a significant number of your emails were to or from Sidney Blumenthal. Now, he did not work for the State Department. He didn't work for the U.S. government at all. He wanted to work for the State Department, but the White House said no to him. Do you recall who specifically at the White House rejected Sidney Blumenthal?
No, I do not.
After he was turned down for a job at the State Department by the White House, he went to work where?
I think he had a number of consulting contracts with different entities.
Well, he had a number of them. Do you recall any of them?
I know that he did some work for my husband.
Well, he worked for the Clinton Foundation.
That's correct.
Okay. He worked for Media Matters.
I'm sure he did.
He worked for Correct the Record.
I'm sure he did.
When you were asked about Sidney, he was an old friend who sent you unsolicited emails, which you passed on in some instances because you wanted to hear from people outside what you called the bubble. We will ignore for a second whether or not Sidney Blumenthal is outside the bubble, but I do want to ask you about a couple of those other comments, because what you left out was that he was an old friend who knew absolutely nothing about Libya, was critical of President Obama and others that you work with, loved to send you political and image advice, had business interests in Libya, which he not only alerted you to, but solicited your help for, and you often forwarded his emails, but usually only after you redacted out any identifiers so nobody knew where the information was coming from. What does the word unsolicited mean to you?
It means that I did not ask him to send me the information that he sent me, and as I have previously stated, some of it I found interesting, some of it I did not, some of it I forwarded, some of it I did not. I did not know anything about any business interests. I thought that, just as I said previously, newspaper articles, journalists, of which he is one, a former journalist, had some interesting insights. And so we took them on board and evaluated them, and some were helpful and others were not.
We're going to get to all the points you just made, but I want to start with your public comment that these emails were unsolicited. You wrote to him, "Another keeper, thanks, and please keep them coming. Greetings from Kabul, and thanks for keeping this stuff coming. Any other info about it? Question mark. What are you hearing now? Question mark. Got it. We'll follow up tomorrow. Anything else to convey? Question mark. Now that one is interesting because that was the very email where Mr. Blumenthal was asking you to intervene on behalf of a business deal that he was pursuing in Libya. What did you mean by what are you hearing now?
I have no idea.
What you hear now is about with the fight mill going
They
on.
started out unsolicited, and as I said, some were of interest. I passed them on, and some were not. And so he continued to provide me information that was made available to him.
I don't want to parse words, and I don't want to be hyper-technical, because it's not a huge point, but it is an important point. You didn't say they started off unsolicited. You said they were. You said they were unsolicited.
Well, they were unsolicited, but obviously I did respond to some of them.
Well,
and I'm sure that encouraged him.
Anything else to convey? What are you hearing now? I'm going to Paris tomorrow night. We'll meet with TNC leaders, so this and additional info useful. Still don't have electricity or BlackBerry coverage post-Irene, so I've had to resort to my new iPad. Let me know if you received this. We'll talk about the new iPad in a little bit. Here's another one. This report is in part a response to your questions. That's an email from him to you. This report is in part a response to your questions. There'll be further information in the next day. If you're the one asking him for information, how does that square with the definition of unsolicited?
I said it began that way, Mr. Chairman, and I will add that both Chris Stevens and Gene Kretz found some of the information interesting, far more than I could, because they knew some of the characters who were being mentioned, and they were the ones, the kind of persons with the expertise that I asked to evaluate to see whether there was any useful information.
We're going to get to that in a second. Now, before you give Mr. Blumenthal too much credit, you agree he didn't write a single one of those cables or memos he sent you.
I'm sorry, what?
He didn't write a single one of those cables or memos.
I don't know who wrote them. He's the one who sent them to me.
Would you be surprised to know that not a single one of those was from him?
I don't know where he got the information that he was sending to me.
Did you ask? You're sending me very specific, detailed intelligence. What is your source? That seems to me like a pretty good question.
I did learn later that he was talking to or sharing information from former American intelligence officials.
By the name of? Who wrote those cables?
I don't recall. I don't know, Mr. Chairman.
You had this information passed on to others, but at least on one occasion you asked Ms. Abney, can you print without any identifiers? Why would you want his name removed?
Because I thought that it would be more important to just look at the substance and to make a determination as to whether or not there was anything to it.
Well, don't people have a right to know the source of the information so they can determine credibility?
He wasn't, as you just said, the source of the information.
But you didn't know that, Madam Secretary, and that's what you just said.
No, Mr. Chairman. I knew that he didn't have the sources to provide information. He was getting it from somewhere else. Whether he knew about journalists, he knew others in Washington. It could have been a variety of people.
Well, if you're going to determine credibility, don't you want to know the source?
Well, it wasn't credibility so much as trying to follow the threads that were mentioned about individuals. And as I already stated, some of it was useful and some of it was not.
Well, did the president know that Mr. Blumenthal was advising you?
He wasn't advising me. And,
did he know that he was your most prolific emailer that we have found on the subjects of Libya and Benghazi?
That's because I didn't do most of my work.
That's fair. I'm not challenging that, Madam Secretary. I am not challenging that. All I'm telling you is the documents show he was your most prolific emailer on Libya and Benghazi. And my question to you is, did the president, the same White House that said you can't handle him and can't hire him, did he know that he was advising you?
He was not advising me, and I have no reason to have ever mentioned that or know that the president knew that.
All right, I want to draw your attention to an email about Libya from Mr. Blumenthal to you, dated April 2011. It will be Exhibit 67. And this is informative. Should we pass on, and in parentheticals, unidentified to the White House? If you were going to pass something on to the White House, why would you take off the identifiers?
Because it was important to evaluate the information, and from a lot of intelligence that I have certainly reviewed over the years, you often don't have the source of the intelligence. You look at the intelligence and you try to determine whether or not it is credible, whether it can be followed up on.
Well, I'm going to accept the fact that you and I come from different backgrounds, because I can tell you that an unsourced comment could never be uttered in any courtroom.
Nah.
We're not talking
Nah.
about courtrooms, Mr. Chairman. We're talking about intelligence.
No, we're talking about credibility and the ability to assess
Yes.
who a source is.
Yes.
And whether or not that source
Is
has ever been
credible
to
enough.
Libya, knows anything about Libya, or has business interest in Libya, all of which would be important if you were going to determine the credibility, which I think is why you probably took his information off of what you sent to the White House. But here's another possible explanation. It may give us a sense of why maybe the White House didn't want you hired in the first place. In one email, he wrote this about the President's Secretary of Defense. I infer Gates' problem is losing an internal debate. Tyler, and by the way, Tyler's Tyler Drumheller, that's who actually authored the cables that you got from Mr. Blumenthal. Tyler knows him well, and says he's a mean, vicious little, I'm not going to say the word, but he did. This is an email from Blumenthal to you about the President's Secretary of Defense. And here's another Blumenthal email to you about President's National Security Advisor. Frankly, Tom Donilon's babbling rhetoric about narratives on the phone briefing of reporters on March the 10th has inspired derision among serious foreign policy analysts, both here and abroad. And here's another one from what you say is your old friend Sidney Blumenthal. This is a quote from him. I would say Obama, and by the way, he left the president part out. I would say Obama appears to be intent on seizing defeat from the jaws of victory. He and his political cronies in the White House and Chicago are, to say the least, unenthusiastic about regime change in Libya. Obama's lukewarm and self-contradicting statements have produced what is, at least for the moment, operational paralysis. I think that may give us a better understanding of why the White House may have told you you cannot hire him. Blumenthal could not get hired by our government, didn't pass any background check at all, had no role with our government, had never been to Libya, had no expertise in Libya, was critical of the president and others that you worked with, shared polling data with you on the intervention in Libya, gave you political advice on how to take credit for Libya, all the while working for the Clinton Foundation and some pseudo-news entities. And Madam Secretary, he had unfettered access to you. And he used that access, at least on one occasion, to ask you to intervene on behalf of a business venture. Do you recall that?
You know, Mr. Chairman, if you don't have any friends who say unkind things privately, I congratulate you. But from my perspective, I don't know what this line of questioning does to help us get to the bottom of the deaths of 4 Americans.
I'll be happy to help you understand that, Madam Secretary.
I want to reiterate what I said to Congresswoman Sanchez. These were originally unsolicited. You've just said that perhaps the main, if not the exclusive author, was a former intelligence agent for our country who rose to the highest levels of the CIA and who was given credit for being one of the very few who pointed out that the intelligence used by the Bush administration to go to war in Iraq was wrong. So I think that, you know, the sharing of information from an old friend that I did not take at face value, that I sent on to those who were experts, is something that makes sense, but it was certainly not in any way the primary source of or the predominant understanding that we had of what was going on in Libya and what we needed to be doing.
Well, Madam Secretary, I'm out of time, and we'll pick this back up the next round, but I'll go ahead and let you know ahead of time why it's relevant. It's relevant because our ambassador was asked to read and respond to Sidney Blumenthal's drivel. It was sent to him to read and react to. In some instances, on the very same day he was asking for security. So I think it is eminently fair to ask why Sidney Blumenthal had unfettered access to you, Madam Secretary, with whatever he wanted to talk about.
Welcome to Toyota Time. Tons of awesome
Oh yeah, while I'm doing this mission, I'm listening to how our new president ain't nothing but a lying sack of shit.
Secretary Clinton, I appreciate most of those attacks were after the attack on the facility in Benghazi. You mentioned Cairo. It's interesting. What else Miss Lewin said that day? She said, if pressed by the press, if there's a connection between Cairo and Benghazi, she said this: there's no connection between the two. So here's what troubles me. Your experts knew the truth. Your spokesperson knew the truth. Greg Hicks knew the truth. But what troubles me more is I think you knew the truth. I want to show you a few things here. You're looking at an email you sent to your family. Here's what you said. 11 o'clock that night. 1 hour after you told the American people it was a video, you say to your family, 2 officers were killed today in Benghazi by an Al-Qaeda-like group. You tell the American people one thing, you tell your family an entirely different story. Also, on the night of the attack, you had a call with the president of Libya. Here's what he said to him. Ansar al-Sharia is claiming responsibility. It's interesting, Mr. Katala, one of the guys arrested and charged, actually belonged to that group. And finally, and most significantly, the next day, in 24 hours, you had a conversation with the Egyptian Prime Minister. You told him this: we know the attack in Libya had nothing to do with the film. It was a planned attack, not a protest.
Why y'all doing that? It ain't number technology.
Read that one more time. We know, not we think, not it back in Libya, had nothing to do with the film. It was a planned attack, not a protest. State Department experts knew the truth. You knew the truth.
Look it up. I never had no problems on this shit before.
But that's not what the American people got. Protest. State Department experts knew the truth. You knew the truth. But that's not what the American people. And again, the American people want to know why. Why didn't you tell the American people exactly what you told the Egyptian Prime Minister?
Well, I think if you look at the statement that I made, I clearly said that it was an attack, and I also said that there were some who tried to justify it on the basis of the video, Congressman. And I think it's
real quick. Calling it an attack is like saying the sky's blue. Of course, it was an attack. No, you don't. You want to know the truth. The statement you sent out was a statement on Benghazi, and you say vicious behavior as a response to inflammatory material on the internet. If that's not pointing as the motive being a video, I don't know what is. And that's certainly how the American people saw it.
Well, Congressman, there was a lot of conflicting information that we were trying to make sense of. The situation was very fluid. It was fast moving. There was also a claim of responsibility by Ansar al-Sharia. And when I talked to the Egyptian Prime Minister, I said that this was a claim of responsibility by Ansar al-Sharia, by a group that was affiliated, or at least wanted to be affiliated with Al-Qaeda. Sometime after that, the next day, early the next morning after that, on the 12th or 13th, they retracted their claim of responsibility. And I think if you look at what all of us were trying to do, and we were in a position, Congressman, of trying to make sense of a lot of incoming information and watch the way the intelligence community tried to make sense of it.
Madam Secretary,
so all I can say is nobody...
There was not conflicting information the day of the attack because your press secretary said, if pressed, there's no connection between Cairo and Benghazi. It was clear. You're the ones who muddied it up, not the information.
Well, there's no connection.
Here's what I think's going on. Here's what I think's going on. Let me show you one more slide. Again, this is from Victoria Nuland, your press person. She says to Jake Sullivan, Philippe Reines, subject line reads this: Romney's statement on Libya. Email says this is what Ben was talking about. Assume Ben is the now somewhat famous Ben Rhodes, author of the Talking Points memo. This email's at 10:35, 27 minutes after your 10:08 statement. 27 minutes after you've told everyone it's a video, while Americans are still fighting because the attack's still going on, your top people are talking politics. It seems to me that night you had three options, Secretary. You could tell the truth, like you, Emily, like you did with the Libyan president, like you did with the Egyptian prime minister. Tell them it was a terrorist attack. You could say, you know what, we're not quite sure. Don't really know for sure. I don't think the evidence is there. I think it's all in the first one, but you could have done that. But you picked the third option. You picked the video narrative. You picked the one with no evidence, and you did it because Libya was supposed to be, Mr. Roskin pointed out, this great success story for the Obama White House and the Clinton State Department. And a key campaign theme that year was GM's alive, Bin Laden's dead, Al-Qaeda's on the run. And now you have a terrorist attack. It's a terrorist attack in Libya. And it's just 56 days before an election. You can live with a protest about a video. That won't hurt you. But a terrorist attack will. So you can't be square with the American people. Tell your family it's a terrorist attack, but not the American people. You can tell the president of Libya it's a terrorist attack, but not the American people. And you can tell the Egyptian
bullshit, man.
It's a terrorist attack, but you can't tell your own
people. And we gonna let her be president again? Come on, man.
Madam Secretary.
Come on.
Americans can live with the fact that good people sometimes give their lives for this country. They don't like it. They mourn for those families. They pray for those families. They can live with it. But what they can't take, what they can't live with,
the government
is when the government's not square with them. Mr. Chairman, I yield back.
Madam Secretary, you're welcome to answer the question if you would like to.
Well, I wrote a whole
Look at that smile about this talking about. That smile.
I'd be glad to send it to you, Congressman, because I think the insinuations that you are making do a grave disservice to the hard work that people in this department, the intelligence community, the Defense Department, the White House did during the course of some very confusing and difficult days.
Got a bitch.
There is no doubt in my mind that we did the best we could with the information that we had at the time. And if you actually go back and read what I said that night, I was very careful in saying that some have sought to justify. In fact, the man that has been arrested as one of the ringleaders of what happened in Benghazi, Ahmed Abu Khattala, is reported to have said it was the video that motivated him. None of us can speak to the individual motivations of those terrorists who overran our compound and who attacked our CIA annex. There were probably a number of different motivations. I think the intelligence community, which took the lead on trying to sort this out, as they should have, went through a series of interpretations and analysis. And we were all guided by that. We were not making up the intelligence. We were trying to get it, make sense of it, and then to share it. When I was speaking to the Egyptian Prime Minister, or in the other two examples you showed, we had been told by Ansar al-Sharia that they took credit for it. It wasn't until about 24 or more hours later that they retracted taking credit for it. We also knew, Congressman, because my responsibility was for what was happening throughout the region. I needed to be talking about the video because I needed to be putting other governments and other people on notice that we were not going to let them get away with attacking us as they did in Tunis, as they did in Khartoum. And in Tunis, there were thousands of traders who were there only because of the video, breaching the walls of our embassy, burning down the American school. I was calling everybody in the Tunisian government I could get, and finally President Marzouki sent his presidential guard to break it up. There is example after example. That's what I was trying to do during those very desperate and difficult hours.
Secretary Clinton, you said my insinuation. I'm not insinuating anything. I'm reading what you said. Plain language. We know the attack in Libya had nothing to do with the film. That's as plain as it can get. That's vastly different than vicious behavior justified by internet material. Why didn't you just speak plain, American people?
I did. If you look at my statement, as opposed to what I was saying to the Egyptian Prime Minister, I did state clearly, and I said it again in more detail the next morning, as did the President. I'm sorry that it doesn't fit your narrative, Congressman. I can only tell you what the facts were, and the facts, as the Democratic members have pointed out in their most recent collection of them, support this process that was going on, where the intelligence community was pulling together information. It's very much harder to do it these days than it used to be, because you have to...
Putting away the softballs, Univision's Jorge Ramos brought what's been missing during Dem debates. Hard-hitting questions.
On the night of the attack in Benghazi, you sent an email to your daughter Chelsea saying that Al-Qaeda Live was responsible for the killing of the Americans. However, some of the families claim that you lied to them. Secretary Clinton, did you lie to them?
Just to refresh, here's what Hillary Clinton and President Obama said.
We've seen rage and violence directed at American embassies over an awful internet video that we had nothing to do with.
Crude and disgusting video. It sparked outrage throughout the world. I have made it clear the United States government has nothing to do with this video.
The problem is, they both knew it wasn't the video. Hillary Clinton said so in her own email.
That email you sent to your family. Here's what you said. 11 o'clock that night, approximately 1 hour after you told the American people it was a video, you say to your family, 2 officers were killed today in Benghazi by an Al-Qaeda-like group. Most significantly,
everybody's talking about our line president. What we gonna do? Y'all gonna vote? Vote for what? Vote don't mean nothing. Vote of them
had nothing to do with the film. It was a planned attack, not a protest.
So what did Mrs. Clinton have to say about being called a liar by a Benghazi victim's mother, Patricia Smith?
You know, look, I feel a great deal of sympathy for the families of the 4 brave Americans that we lost at Benghazi. And I certainly can't even imagine the grief that she has for losing her son. But she's wrong. She's absolutely wrong. At the time I emailed with my daughter, a terrorist group had taken credit for the attacks on our facility in Benghazi.
Hang on. Let's take that back.
We know. Not we think. Not it might be. We know the attack in Libya has nothing to do with the film. It was a planned attack, not a protest.
Within 16, 18 hours, they rescinded taking credit. They did it all on social media. And the video did play a role. We have captured one of the lead terrorists, and he admits it was both a terrorist attack and it was influenced by the video.
So which is it? First you say it was from a video, but in an email you claim it was a planned attack. Now it's both? Do you trust Hillary Clinton?
State Department experts knew the truth. You knew the truth. That's not what the American people knew.
That river ain't running nowhere. I just gotta, he gonna fight back when I come and get him. But he gonna get it close up. So y'all getting to hear how much of a lie we're about to get in the White House. Here's the ladies, one of the ladies, the little boys. One of the moms of the kids, the guys that got killed.
Hi there. So Hillary Clinton said you were wrong. What are you? I was there and we were nose to nose at the coffin ceremony. She lied to me. She told me it was the fault of the video. I said, are you sure? And she said, yes, that's what it was. It was a video. And she knew full well it wasn't at that time. And then she said she was going to check, and if it's any different, she would call me back. She would let me know. She has never once spoken to me or her office. The only thing I ever got out of them is that I am not a member of the immediate family, and I don't need to know.
What do you mean you're not a member of the immediate family? You're his mother.
Well, that's what I said. And they don't care. And they still just go on with their lying little ways, saying that
the immediate family, they trying to say his wife and his kids.
Said, I don't lie. She's a proven liar. And I call her out for that. I know what I heard.
When you say you know what you heard, she actually came to you at the funeral and spoke to you and said that it was the video. She personally said this to you?
She not only personally said this, this was a coffin ceremony. She came up to me, I talked to her, she put her arms around me, and she told me that it was the fault of the video. Then I went around the room talking to the other people, asking them, what was it? What is the problem? What started it? Why is my son dead? And I talked to Obama, who said it was a video. I talked to Panetta, who said it was a video. And these I was nose to nose with them. They told me personally.
Did you believe when they told you that it was the video? What? Did you believe at that time that it was the video?
I kept asking what it was, because I didn't know what it was. I didn't know anything about a video.
So now when Hillary Clinton gets on stage and says that you are wrong, how do you feel?
Well, that doesn't surprise me. Not at all, from the way she's been talking. She has never, and her department will not speak to me. They still have not spoken to me. Not once has anybody ever contacted me other than to tell me I was not a member of the immediate family, and they don't have to tell me. Now, I'm still waiting for her. I want Hillary to talk to me personally and tell me why there was no security there when they were asked for it. I know this because I spoke to my son.
Imagine your son that day.
He said he was really scared because he saw the 17 people, 17 November, whatever it was, that they were walking around taking pictures, and he was afraid. He said they didn't look very good. And he was afraid. And then he asked for security, and he was turned down.
And this was on the day of the attack?
Yes.
Some people, Mr. Smith, believe that you politicized this. You heard the reaction there of the crowd to Jorge Ramos' question. They started booing. They didn't really want him to go there. But he did ask the question. There are those in the Democratic Party that feel that you are doing this for political purposes. What would you say to them?
What political purpose? All I want is for Hillary to tell me what happened. What's political about that? I think that as a mother, I deserve to know. And as a woman, and she said she always talks about a woman. I am a woman too. I think I deserve to know why my son is dead. What was the reasoning behind it? Can't anybody there, anybody from my government tell me what happened? The only thing I know is that the security guards that were there, that were shot and killed, they're the ones that told me everything that I pretty much know. Because Hillary won't. And it was her department. And I even asked her, I said, this was your department, Hillary. Why? And she said she wasn't told.
Mr. Smith, and what about other family members? Have they been contacted by Hillary Clinton, to your knowledge, or the president?
No. To my knowledge, I'm completely out of the loop. I don't know who's been talked to and why or anything. I am not in touch with anybody about that. All I want to know is why my son is dead.
Who did contact you? How did you learn of what happened?
At the night sometime during the night, I would think it was after midnight, I got a telephone call saying your son is dead in Benghazi. I didn't even know who was in Benghazi.
From
Yes.
who at the time?
I don't know.
Someone called you, told you, he
That
had
he was
died.
dead.
And then what happened?
And then I bust out crying a lot. I don't know what happened after that. They have not gotten back to me. I want them to tell me what happened. I want the government not to call me a liar, because that's incredible. I don't lie like that. She's a proven liar. That's neither here nor there. I want to know why my son was dead when he asked for security. As I said, I spoke to him almost every day. Almost every day. If it wasn't speaking, then it would be a little notation that came to me, a little email or something. But every day, I talked to him.
So he knew he was vulnerable.
What was that?
He knew he was vulnerable. He knew that security
Yes.
was not what it should be.
Yes, exactly.
But you know, despite all of this, you know, she went through the testimony that she gave before Congress that they really weren't able to find anything concrete in terms of an absolute lie. How did that make you feel as you watched all that testimony, as you watched her there being grilled by lawmakers, and she said, look, it is what it is, and this is politically motivated?
Well, that's what she says. Now, prove it. Why is she saying that? Why is she calling me a liar when she knew what was happening there? Like I said, I didn't even know from a video. I didn't know anything about a video. And this is what they were telling me. And the whole government that was there, from Susan Rice to Panetta and all those guys, Obama put his arms around me, hugged me, and said it was a video. Now, if I think I believe...
Do you remember? Because I'm sure that everything is in some ways a bit of a daze to you, but when you said it was a video, how do you characterize it?
That's all that they told me was the video. I said I didn't know what video it was. I had to research it myself and find out about it. But I still don't know what video. I've never seen this video.
And
I don't know anything about this.
They promised you, she promised you that she would get back to you when we had more information?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. In fact, I was begging them, please, please, I must know, I must know. And they just wanted to quiet me down. Oh, you poor thing, you. All I want to know is the truth. God, for God's sake, let my government tell me the truth.
Mrs. Smith, what could she do, should she do now?
Come, I want to speak to her personally. And I wanted to be able to ask her what happened. And I wanted her to be able to tell me what happened. I don't believe she's got the guts to do that. As Madeleine Albright said, there's a special place in hell for people like her. And I hope she enjoys it there.
Mrs. Smith, thank you very much, and our condolences to you.
I just want to know. I just want to know what happened.
I know. Thank you. Thank you, Mrs. Smith. I'll get it to you. I hope you do this tomorrow. I really do.
What's up, bro? What's going on with you? Another one in Clinton's on. How we do this here?
Breaking tonight, a Kelly File exclusive on the gripping new film that may pose a threat to Hillary Clinton's hopes for the White House. Welcome to the Kelly File, everyone. I'm Megan Kelly. Many insisted after her most recent testimony on Benghazi that this issue was over. Her defenders pronounced it is officially time to move on. That the terrorist attack that took place in Libya on September 11th, 2012, which the administration argued was about an internet video offensive to Muslims, was neither Mrs. Clinton's fault nor misrepresented by her. But the issue of the families of the 4 Americans killed in Benghazi still looms large. At least 3 of the families are on record as saying that as their loved ones' bodies sat at Dover Air Force Base days after the attack, Mrs. Clinton personally approached them and blamed the murders on this internet video, even though we now know that just 2 days earlier she had told the Egyptian Prime Minister that the video had nothing to do with it. Days ago, at a stop in New Hampshire, Mrs. Clinton was pressed on why her story diverges wildly from that being told by these family members. Quote, somebody is lying, said a columnist from New Hampshire's Conway Daily Sun. Who is it? Mrs. Clinton responded, not me. That's all I can tell you. Not, no one is lying. Not, let's not impugn anyone's motives here. Not, I reject the premise of your question. Not me. That was the answer she chose to give. But a major motion picture about to be released by Paramount Pictures, 13 Hours, The Secret Soldiers of Benghazi, makes it very clear that Benghazi was a pre-planned terrorist attack. The film was introduced as a true story and reintroduces Benghazi as a potential campaign issue that cannot be helpful to Mrs. Clinton. The film is told through the eyes of the men who were there, 3 of whom are with us tonight. The real-life heroes on the ground in Benghazi on September 11, 2012. They helped director Michael Bay craft a gripping film that captures the fierce fight to protect dozens of Americans and the desperate calls for help that went unanswered by President Obama's administration, including Hillary Clinton's State Department.
Oh, I destroyed the coat.
We'll speak with them in a moment, but first, a new look at the story about to hit the big screens.
I wish that y'all could see that shit. They called the government for meetings.
The U.S. ambassador, you gotta send us. You're not the first responders. You will wait.
You will wait.
We have no jurisdiction in this country. We're not even supposed to be here.
Losing initiative.
Stand down! If you do not get your suit,
We're all gonna fucking die. And they did die.
we are the only help they have.
And they did die. Oh, I wish y'all could see that. Go watch the trailer for that shit. I don't hate nobody, but I hate what Clinton did to what Clinton did to. Come on, bro. I don't shoot nobody. I don't kill nobody. And you fucking with my car, nigga, me kill you. I'm gonna take all day this time.
It's amazing being confronted and fighting with being there and being with them and having the faith that you're going to defeat all the obstacles. And yeah, it's just everything. And these don't get like this. So, no, it brought home a lot of the truths that we learned a lot of the like I said, the brotherhood is the best way I can explain it. So yeah, I miss it immensely. I sacrificed a lot to get to this point, and one of it's the job that I really, really love. I go back there in a heart.
The movie and the book takes the viewer and the reader through the story of Benghazi, so our viewers are up to speed. But this starts off as the diplomatic outpost, the so-called consulate where Ambassador Chris Stevens was, and the attack on that compound that was not caused by a video, where RPGs and mortars and so on are set off, and Ambassador Chris Stevens dies. We've got, in the meantime, our office of CIA Annex, another post that's less than a mile away, chomping at the bit, saying, send us, send us. You can hear the distress calls. You can hear the radio calls of the State Department personnel saying, we're going to die, we're going to die, we're going to die. The CIA station chief, where you were at the time, told you repeatedly, according to the movie, stand down. We saw that in the trailer. Use the word stand down. Is that how you remember it?
Yeah, I mean,
our government allowed those people to die.
The chief and our team leader stand on the front porch and when he told me to stand down.
They were getting things said, right? But we mean this shit. And we were.
Why is it wrong? Why, you know, the position is you're here to protect the annex. They have some security personnel over at the consulate, which our viewers should know. Congressional investigators have already found was woefully inadequate and that we were totally unprepared, that state had totally left those guys unprepared to defend themselves. But in the moment, that station chief of the annex is saying, you stand down, you're here to protect us, this facility, not that one.
Well, I really don't think it was just for us to protect that facility, it's just that's how he was. There was multiple security situations when we should have left and he never let us go. But
why?
He was just risk adverse in my opinion. This last station, he wanted his legacy to be what it was. He didn't want to lose anybody, I guess.
You got trained Army Rangers. You got Navy SEALs. You got Marines. Yeah. The best in the world, standing there ready to go, armed to the teeth, trained for exactly this, saying, they're saying they're going to be dead. We're going. Yeah. How many times did he tell you to stand down?
Well, he told Topos to wait twice, and he told me to stand down, which even a wait technically is pretty much a stand down too. Yeah. You know, it's just, I don't know why he would rely on militia that's not even military trained. They're barely even trained.
Because he's telling you guys the Libyans are going to protect Ambassador Stevens. The Libyans have it. The Libyans who had already run from the front of the diplomatic facility were going to handle it, which of course they did not. But ultimately the movie depicts you guys saying, we're going. And Tyrone Wood specifically saying, and that's quoted in the movie, saying to all of you, it's up to you, but we're the only help they have. Did that really happen?
And that did happen. And the radio call from Alec Henderson coming across saying, hey, if you guys don't want to get here, we're all going to leap and die. That's word for word. That's what actually spurred us.
Man, that's fucked up.
All have testified to this, and the trailer that we just watched, it captures it too.
I don't see what our government doing us, man.
There was no.
Our government ain't worth a fucking quarter, man.
In the film this morning, there's one theme that
We the people got to take this shit back, man.
That they were left alone. There was no one.
It would happen to some people.
You see heroes assuming, understanding, based on their experience, that the American military will be there to back them up and support them. And help never came.
I mean, for us, for the military to come and support us, the agency, we wouldn't have expected it. The fact that the U.S. ambassador had been missing probably for about 5 hours before they actually officially, he was considered dead, and they didn't send anything or attempt to push anything that way is pretty crazy. I mean, I would never expect them just to leave the ambassador out there. Hang
up. What about all the CIA?
Again, my view is they didn't even try. And that's where the problem, and that's where the film does a great job of showing that even though the head shed or the headquarters elements with the Department of Defense were getting assets and moving them, that it eventually just stopped for some reason. We still don't know why.
What did you
expect would come? What did you think would show up? Who or what?
The biggest thing I think we really needed was mainly air support. I mean, any kind of...
Just something to fly over.
How hard would it have been?
No, again, people that see the movie and read the book know that it wouldn't have been difficult.
And all we sent was an unmanned drone.
And it wasn't helpful at all either.
But I want to go back because one of the things that gets lost, I think, in the coverage of Benghazi too is the loss of our
one-man drone.
Who was portrayed in the film as a good man.
He was a very good man. That's why they allowed him to die.
Who had begged for security increases there and was denied those security increases.
By our government.
In fact, been diminished.
By our government.
Leading up to September.
By our
That's
government.
another thing that the investigators have found, which was he had no business being in Benghazi on 9/11. The
No
administration
business.
should not have allowed it.
Nope.
If they were going to send him, they should have sent him with proper security.
Yep.
But he was killed that night, and you went to the consulate, the very facility which he was killed. You kept running in to try to get him, right?
Multiple times.
And the smoke was too much. Describe that moment where you knew he was in there. You didn't yet know whether he was dead.
You know, you couldn't really. I mean, I was on my belly for the last time I went in for a counter-assaulted on the consulate, and the smoke was still down there, and you still like see about maybe 2 feet in front of your face, and you know, it was just so thick and so hot. It's just like being in a brick oven. I mean, you're just sweating constantly, and there was extreme heat and just coughing, and cause you can't really hold your breath because one of your adrenaline's pumping, and you know, you've been running around for the last hour, you know, fighting your way on and searching, and so I mean, it was pretty intense.
Do you believe that if you'd been allowed to go when you first said, send us, and the radio calls came in from the consulate saying, help us, do you believe there would have been any chance that they were?
They'd be allowed to today.
100%.
The congressional investigators concluded there was no stand-down order.
I don't know where they got.
Well, it's because I couldn't read his lips from the drone.
That's just silly. I mean, there was for us.
I mean, Hillary Clinton and Barack Obama and others rely on those conclusions, saying, you know, they've really been cleared because investigators concluded there was no stand-down order.
It's kind of funny, everything that we testified to, you know, they agreed with us 100%. I mean, from pretty much from us eating the candy bar to, you know, shooting all their ammo, but for some reason they don't want to believe us that we were told to stand down.
Do you have a political motive? Do you have a...
No.
The one who should have got the star was sitting right there because he saved Tyrone's life by going in the building and finding him when he was lost. And then he's the first one to come up on the roof and put 2 tourniquets on Dave Rubin and got a tourniquet on my arm. And probably take both of us
And see him naked once. That's an honor right there.
That's a big joke. When this audience sees this film and sees what you all went through and you ask what happened to your arm, which was basically hanging off. I mean, it was
right here down.
It was hanging by a
That
thread.
was pretty impressive seeing him trying to get it. I remember seeing him trying to get his gun up and that arm's hanging and he's still trying to shoot out. I ain't gonna say it much because I don't even give a Marine any more kudos than what they already get. But I'll be honest, I was pretty impressed seeing that after the mortars hit and seeing him still fight.
And when he went down to get help, it wasn't for himself. It was for the gentleman you just referenced, who had also been hit. And so Oz walks in down the road to say, there's another guy, his arm is banging. He says there's somebody who's hurt and needs help. And you refuse to go on the airplane until they get out of there on a journey. Why? Tell me what you said and why you said it.
I walked into that country, I'm going to walk out. I mean, it's just, again, it's who I am. I'm not going to, I mean, I don't know. It's just, I just felt compelled to, I'm not going to lose.
To the end, it wasn't the United States. That was their thing.
And that's kudos to Glenn Doherty and his team in Tripoli getting that aircraft to us.
Last subject. Come back. The video. It was all about a video. And we've heard the family say that. That's how it took us to segment. That Hillary Clinton, according to the family members, looked at them at Dover Air Force Base when the bodies came back in the casket and said, we're going to get the guys in that video. And now when asked who's lying, you or the families, she says, well, it's not me. And of course she's talking about Glenn's family, she's talking about Tyrone's family, she's talking about Sean's family.
And I know Pat Smith, I know Katie Quigley, Glenn's sister. I know You know, we know Ty's mom. We know what they told us was said, and I do know very well. And Katie's been on news quite a bit, telling you what she was told, and I know that they were told it was video because that's what they told me. And I believe Pat. I believe Katie. I believe
And it's easy. I mean, who would have a reason to lie?
Why? If their loved ones just died.
Simple. Exactly. They have no reason to tell anything but the truth.
When you saw the testimony of Hillary Clinton, she did fight twice. And the first time she made big headlines when I have the clip. This is what she said.
The fact is, we have 4 dead Americans. Was it because of a protest, or was it because of guys out for a walk one night and decided they'd go kill some Americans? What difference at this point does it make? I'm a fucking Marine!
It's in context.
It makes a huge difference, and this is what I was talking about with the politics of it, the politicking of, and just getting it down into where it turns into a reality show, keeping the Kardashian type show, which the truth is not being told. That's one of the reasons why it pushed us to go ahead and...
That's the reason why I got my show.
But tell the truth of what happened on the ground, because it doesn't matter. It matters to honor our friends that passed away. It matters because we need to honor Ambassador Stephen Henshaw and to honor the families that didn't know the truth about this whole thing, because they didn't know.
That was insane! Fucking hell, man!
Mr. Chairman, you just gave a long answer, Madam Secretary, to Ms. Sanchez about what you heard that night, what you're doing, but nowhere in there did you mention a video. You didn't mention a video because there was never a video-inspired protest in Benghazi. It wasn't Cairo, not Benghazi. Victoria Nuland, your spokesperson at the State Department, hours after the attack said this: Benghazi has been attacked by militants. In Cairo, police have removed them. You got weapons and explosions. Cairo, you got spray paint and rocks. 1 hour before the attack in Benghazi, Chris Stevens walks the diplomat to the front gate. The ambassador didn't report a demonstration. He didn't report it because it never happened. Eyewitness in the command center that night on the ground said no protest, no demonstration. 2 intelligence reports that day. No protest, no demonstration. The attack starts at 3:42 Eastern Time. Ends at approximately 11:40 p.m. that night. 4:06, the ops alert goes out across the State Department. It says this: mission under attack, armed men, shots fired, explosions heard. No mention of video, no mention of a protest, no mention of a demonstration. But the best evidence is Greg Hicks, the number 2 guy in Libya, the guy who worked side by side with Ambassador Stevens. He was asked if there had been a protest, would the ambassador have reported it? Mr. Hicks' response: absolutely. For there to have been a demonstration on Chris Stevens' front door and him not to have reported it is unbelievable, Mr. Hicks said. He said, secondly, if it had been reported, he would have been out the back door within minutes, and there was a back gate. Everything points to a terrorist attack. We just heard from Mr. Pompeo about the long history of terrorist incidents, terrorist violence in the country, and yet 5 days later, Susan Rice goes on 5 TV shows, and she says this: Benghazi was a spontaneous reaction as a consequence of a video. A statement we all know is false. Don't take my word for it. Here's what others have said. Rice was off the reservation. Off the reservation on 5 networks. White House worried about the politics. Republicans did make those statements. They were made by the people who work for you, the Near Eastern Affairs Bureau, the actual experts on Libya in the State Department. So, there's no evidence for a video-inspired protest, and where'd the false narrative start? Starting with you, Madam Secretary.
Yep.
At 10:08, on the night of the attack, you released this statement. Some have sought to justify the vicious behavior as a response to inflammatory material posted on the internet. At 10:08, no evidence.
They set that man up to be killed. They just said that the man was a good dude. He was a good dude. was a good dude. He was about the truth. Them crooked son bitches is about all this lying, crack-jack bullshit. Killed that dude.
During the day,
You know,
September 11th, as you did mention, Congressman, there was a very large protest against our embassy in Cairo. Protesters reached the walls. They tore down the American flag. And it was a grave concern to us because the inflammatory video had been shown on Egyptian television, which has a broader reach than just inside Egypt. And if you look at what I said, I referred to the video
big
that
fucking lie we gonna have as a president.
I said
And that's
some
another one.
have sought to
Every last
justify
one of them
the
bitches
attack
ain't nothing but a
because
bunch
of
of
the video.
liars.
I used
But like I
those
said
words
again,
deliberately.
truth is the
Not
truth.
to ascribe a
Slippery,
motive
so
to
lies
an
can't go
attacker,
down.
but as a
Lies
warning
just
to
slide
those
off,
across the
and the
region,
truth carries on.
that
But
there
not here in
was
Babylon, baby.
no
Here
justification
in Babylon,
for
the truth is just
further
twisted as a
attacks.
pretzel
In
stick and
fact,
twice as salty. You can
during
see
the
it for
course of
yourself.
that week,
This is some
we
bullshit.
had many attacks
Man-made
that
bullshit.
were all about the video. We had people breaching the walls of our embassies in Tunis and Khartoum. We had people, thankfully not Americans, dying at protests, but that's what was going on.
Cut it off.
Secretary Clinton, I appreciate most of those attacks were after the attack
No.
on the
Embassy.
facility in Benghazi.
Thank
you
you.
mentioned Cairo. It's interesting what else Ms. Newland said that day. She said, if pressed, by the press, there's a connection between Cairo and Benghazi. She said this, there's no connection between the two. So here's what troubles me. Your experts knew the truth. Your spokesperson knew the truth. Greg Hicks knew the truth. And what troubles me more is I think you knew the truth. I want to show you a few things here. You're looking at an email you sent to your family. Here's what you said. At 11 o'clock that night, approximately 1 hour after you told the American people in the video, you say to your family, 2 officers were killed today in Benghazi by an Al-Qaeda-like group. Tell the American people one thing, tell your family an entirely different story. Also, on the night of the attack, you had a call with the president of Libya. This is what you said to him. Ansar al-Sharia is claiming responsibility. Interesting. Mr. Capella, one of the guys in charge, actually belonged to that group. And finally, and most significantly, the next day, in 24 hours, he had a conversation with the Egyptian Prime Minister. He told him this. We know the attack in Libya had nothing to do with the film. It was a planned attack, not a protest. Read that one more time. We know, not we think, not it might be, we know the attack in Libya had nothing to do with the film. It was a planned attack, not a protest. State Department experts knew the truth. You knew the truth. That's not what the American people knew. Again, American people want to know why. Why didn't you tell the American people exactly what you told the Egyptian Prime Minister?
Well, I think if you look at the statement that I made, I clearly said that it was an attack, and I also said that there were some who tried to justify it on the basis of the video, Congressman, and I think it's...
But real quick, calling it an attack is like saying the sky's blue. Of course it was an attack. You know, if you want to know the truth, the statement you sent out was a statement on Benghazi, and you say vicious behavior as a response to inflammatory material on the internet. If that's not pointing as motivating a video, I don't know what is. And that's certainly how the American people saw it.
Well, Congressman, there was a lot of conflicting information that we were trying to make sense of. The situation was very fluid, it was fast moving. There was also a claim of responsibility by Ansar al-Sharia. And when I talked to the Egyptian Prime Minister, I said that this was a claim of responsibility by Ansar al-Sharia, by a group that was affiliated, or at least wanted to be affiliated with Al-Qaeda. Sometime after that, the next day, early the next morning after that, on the 12th or 13th, they retracted their claim of responsibility. And I think if you look at what all of us were trying to do, and we were in a position, Congressman, of trying to make sense of a lot of incoming information and watch the way the intelligence community tried to make sense of it. So all I can say
not conflicting. There was not conflicting information the day of the attack because your press secretary said, if press, there's no connection between Cairo and Benghazi. It was clear. You're the ones who muddied it up, not the information.
Well, there's no connection.
Here's what I think. Here's what I think is going on. Here's what I think is going on. I'll show you one more slide. Again, this is from Victoria Miller, press person. She says to Jake Sullivan, human rights. Subject line reads this: Romney's statement in Libya. Email says this is what Ben was talking about. Some did now, some of the things Ben wrote talking of the talking points amendment. This email's at 10:35, 27 minutes after your 10:08 statement. 27 minutes after you told everyone it's a video. While Americans are still fighting because the attack's still going on, we're top people. We're talking politics. Seems to me that night you had three options. You can tell the truth, like you did with your family, like you did with the Libyan president, like you did with the Egyptian prime minister. Tell them it was a terrorist attack. You could say, you know what, we're not quite sure. We don't really know for sure. I don't think the evidence is. I think it's all in the first one. But you could have done that. But you picked the third option. You picked the video narrative. You picked the one with no evidence. And you did it because Libya was supposed to be, Mr. Rossman pointed out, this great success story for the Obama White House and the State Department. And a key campaign theme that year was GM's alive, Bin Laden's dead, Al-Qaeda's on the run. Terrorist attack in Libya. And it's just 56 days before an election. You can live with the protest about a video. That won't hurt. But a terrorist attack in Libya. So you can't be square with the American people. Now your family, it's a terrorist attack. Not the American people.
And y'all, and we gonna vote for her? Y'all gonna vote for her? Y'all gonna vote for her? And now they done hid the emails and everything disappeared. Everything wrong did happen. It done disappeared.
Americans can live the fact that these people sometimes give their lives for this country. I don't like it. They mourn for those families, they pray for those families. They can live with it. What they can't live with is when their government's not square with it. Mr. Chairman, I yield back.
That's enough of that deal. We just saw that we got a lying-ass president about to become president. And to me, that's some bullshit. And y'all should be feeling the same way. I'm at the glasses. I'm finished with this shit for today. Damn, I can't do that. I gotta always finish what I start. But I'm gonna do this one because I don't know how that mission goes. Shit. Yeah, I had thought about the car. So hang on this right fast. While we listen to a little music. Let's go.
The next 30 minutes are ad-free thanks to the following sponsor.